I'm going to move on to Secrets 13 here now, which is one of the Bleu train, the train Bleu in Paris, and again it's going to be a sponge roller and brush one, but this is an extremely complicated piece, and if you've seen them in the past you know that I have to build this up with the atmosphere and the light and the mood first, and then I'll go back into it and gradually, working from loose, go tighter and tighter and tighter. We can't really go tight and then go looser, so anyway, loose and tighter and tighter and tighter, using this jigsaw method, we're gradually building up the shapes and colour with the sponge roller first of all, 1-inch sponge roller. That's this one, that's this one, and then using flat brushes after that to work up all the little points and sections, and eventually we might end up with a round brush just to put in the little tiny filigrees and details. From loose, working tighter and tighter and tighter. So we'll start on that one and run this one through again, but at the various stages of development I will stop the high speed and just give you a little bit of information about when I'm changing and why and what I'm doing. first coats of the underpainting on with the sponge roller. Another day dawned, and I now want to work on further with the sponge roller, building up all of these lovely misty background tones and effects of light before hitting it with the brush. Well, I think that's at about the right level now, having done my sponge work with the sponge roller. I think it's now time to move on to the brushes and start to pick out these lovely slabs of colour, enhance the colours a bit more, and start bringing out these filigrees and details, and of course all these lights. Time now to work on with the brushes then. So I'll use a series of flat brushes, and I think I'll start off with 1/2 inch one on this. And it's this beauty now of the fat against the lean, the heavier impasto paint over the top of the thinner paint that we've done with the, or textural paint that we've done with these sponge rollers. It's going to take a lot of work now. I've got lots and lots and lots to do on this, and I really have got a lot of work to do on this. There's so many textures and details that I want to put in. So many. And even directions of brush strokes like this can aid things. These lovely effects we can get. So much to do. I need to work out where these lights are though, in the ceilings and things next, I think. Perhaps with a smaller brush, we'll see. Let's map out where these lights are now in the ceilings and so on. Go down to 1/4 inch I think, and see what we can find with that. Let's just start off with them. Now that comes around there to here. That's about there. We've got to get just the basic shapes in the background first and get the positions right, I think. I'm going to pick the underpainting to these lights first, and then we'll put the white on at the end. I'm mixing yellow ochre with a bit of chrome yellow at the moment, just to get these in position. Across to here. Let's see now, 1/4, so that's halfway, 1/4. So we're working, as I say, still working from our mediums down to our darks, and then from our mediums back up to our lights, and in this case we're working with these mediums back up to our lights. There's be so much to do, so it's a big painting, this one. There's a lot to do in it. When the colour's on your brush, if you see it somewhere else, then don't forget to go back in and just work on that. Carry on with these lights, I'll get carried away to something else. Coming down here, so we've got one about here. Now I've got to come right down to where these lights, let's have a look, that's the centre of this is down from this one, so yes, it should be. So I'm just really mapping out where they are as much as getting the effects. And then down there. And use a bit of water on it to thin it down slightly, and I'm just going to start to indicate these little filigrees and So a bit of water, make it into a thinner glaze, the same colour. I just want to start to find some of these, indicate some of these lovely, as to say, there's just so much to do here, such a lot on these. We're just giving an impression of them. If you put the right marks in the right places and the right shapes, you should be able to get the feeling of all of these, making it look like a mass of complicated lines when actually we're not painting it that complicated in such a detailed way. There is a lot of work to do, even with an impressionist work of this. So these dots, dashes and marks are going to give us the feeling of this wonderful, wonderful array of whites up here. Before we put the lights on. Oh, you silly man. And these lovely warms are going to now play against the greens, which of course are the opposites in the colour circle, the complementary colours, the green and the red here. When you've got the colour on your brush, you see the time is to use it. If it's somewhere else, then we put it in somewhere else. Because as I say, my drawing has been lost underneath by now, so I've got to start to find things again. A quarter, halfway, quarter, and these lights are. And onto that, start to add some very light yellow. Take some of my processed yellow, lemon yellow would do, and a bit of white. And we start to make the lighter part of these lights. There's even some pink coming into these. We've really got to look at these colours, because if we're going to really make things vibrate and sing, and we've almost a cathedral-like building here, which really requires that feeling of these colours glowing and singing back here. I'm going to take a little bit of very light pink, and I'm going to just bring that into these in the background here, around these lights. Before I put the white in, really get them glowing and pretty and attractive. It's the same happening up into here. I've got this pink happening in and around these lights before I put the white on. There might even be a very light blue coming into the white too, we'll see in a minute. Where else? Because they're going down to the background here then as well. We can start to make the little lights and all these little spots back here, which I want to do with the smaller brush later as well. While it's on my brush, if I see it somewhere else, then it's time to put it in. As you see, there's so much detail to do. I've got to go down a smaller brush, certainly when I come into the background here in a minute. So much to do, it's going to take a bit of time, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's a very enjoyable painting to do. It's a lovely way to paint this. Then I'm going to come up to the white and come back in here with those whites. And now we'll really make it glow. There's pure whites in there, it'll all link together. You can see how I'm building up from the mid-tones to my lightest this way. Trying to keep it as simple as possible, just nice simple brush strokes. But every stroke you see me make improves the painting, I hope. I even have to go over this white again in places to really get it to shine out and not sink back in. Nice and thick, nice and impasto. Right, I've got to go back to have to go to a round brush soon because I need to do so much finer work. I'll continue with this one for a bit longer yet. Using quite thin paint now just to almost glaze these lovely bits of filigree, and gradually I'll get there. It's like an ant moving something. I can gradually build this up. Just finishing off now with some purple, very deep purple, to play against the yellows. Again, opposites in colour circle. Get these depths a bit darker, so we want to make things lighter, we can make things darker next to them. That'll bring them out. Need to get that right. Not quite somehow, not quite there. Just put a brush stroke shouldn't do it if I can just get the right ones. Not always the colour you think it is that's wrong, it could be the one next to it. I've got a feeling that this face in the distance just needs that little bit more work on the highlights next to it, not actually on it. Let's have a look and see. Pure white, if we can get it. Just a little bit of that down here and on his arm here. So the tiniest of marks can do it. Doesn't need much, just one wrong or one right mark can change everything. And we're almost there. It's so much going on that you've got to double check all the time. I don't think I want to go very much further with this. It's almost reached its zenith. It's effective enough. If I make that darker and sharper than that, that'll make that look less sharp. And that's what I want at the minute. I think I'm about there, you know. I don't think I need to do much more to this one. And I think that will do. And where to sign it? Whew, well, it's fairly busy here, but it would go all right there. Or I could just sign it across her legs. A bit of a shame. There we are now, the train, the Bleu train, Le Train Bleu, and a 30 inch by 40 inch canvas, showing you how we can do a very complicated scene, gradually building up bit by bit by bit, putting the right colours in the right shapes, in the right places, relevant one to another. That's the important thing, because however complicated it is, if we just keep doing that all over, eventually we're going to end up with the whole picture like a jigsaw.